FC26 is right round the corner, and something I love to do in the build up to one of the new FIFA or FC cycles is predict player ratings. I love having like guesses as to what the cards might look like, and then when the official cards come out, seeing how close I got. And for those who don't know, I am a QPR fan. And yes, I'm filming this not long after us getting thumped 7-1. No, I don't want to talk about it. But today I am predicting some of the ratings of some of our players that I think they'll get in FC26 Ultimate Team. Now, granted, I haven't done every single card. I've done about 10 or so players, and that's just because there's a lot of players that I think are either going to like stay at the sort of same kind of ratings, and some players that I think are going to go down. And I haven't included any players that I think are going to go down in rating today, but I do think there will be a few of our players that will go down in rating for sure. But I do think a couple of players are going to get some pluses. Although it wasn't a fantastic season for us, there were some highlights and some moments to take away from it. And the start of this season hasn't been great, but I think we've got a few players that are going to get some decent boosts, and we're going to have a look at those today. So if there are more cards or teams or whatever you'd like to see me predict some player ratings for, one thing I was thinking is looking at like some of the biggest transfers for this game. So some players that have either already moved or are going to be making moves soon, and looking at some of those big transfer players and guessing what I think their rating is going to be at their new club. Let me know in the comments down below. Maybe I can try and film something out for you guys. But without further ado, let's get into these QPR ratings. It feels right to start off with Ilias Chair. This year he got himself a 74 rated card, and I'm guessing that he's finally going to get that gold, and I'm guessing he's going to get a +1 and become a non-rare gold card. I've given him what I try and do every year is sort of base it off of the way that EA tend to do upgrades, and like when they have players' stats go up or down, how they sort of usually do it. I tweak it a little bit sometimes based on what I think the player maybe sometimes deserves, and sometimes you see slight differences or instances where the trend isn't always kept because of specific reasons. Like, say for example, a player hadn't really scored many goals before, and then all of a sudden they have a season, they score like 20 goals. They're probably going to get a nice big boost to their shooting stat. So just a couple of little like things to mention beforehand. But looking at Ilias's card, I've kept him at the same pace. I've given him a small boost to shooting, small boost to passing, dribbling the same, a little boost to defending, and a little boost to physicality. A lot of those tweaks, I think pace and dribbling is probably about right for him. Passing, pretty accurate. I've just given it a slight boost just because he's got that +1. And then a lot of his lower stats, I've given a couple of like, I say big boosts, like a +3 on shooting and physicality, and then a +3 on defense as well, even though he's only gone up by 1 rating. Just like working the maths, if I'd just given him a +1 in passing and kept nearly everything else the same, it wouldn't have justified the upgraded rating, if that makes sense. And I think his shooting is a bit better than 66. He can be a little bit hit and miss, but I do love Ilias, and I think that this is a fair upgrade, and I think it's about time he got that gold. Up next, I'm going to be looking at Jimmy Dunn. This year he was a 69 rated centre-back, and in FC26 I think he's going to get a nice big boost, and I think his base position is going to change to right back. I've predicted him to get a +5. Now, I think this is mainly down to him getting one of the highest average match ratings in the championship. He was in like the top 5 players in the championship through his average rating across the season, something like that. I don't remember the exact phrasing of it, but I have given him some hefty boosts in some of those places. I've given him a +7 to pace because I don't think 55 is accurate. He's not very quick, and for a fullback, 62 is not very quick at all in a FIFA sense or an FC sense, but I do think he's quicker than a FC55, if that makes sense. I've given him a nice good chunk to his shooting. If you know some of the goals Jimbo has scored, and he scored plenty of them as well. He was one of our highest goal scorers as well, including a phenomenal goal that I don't even, just watch it back. Just that goal will forever live in my memory. Honestly, what a moment. That was one of my favourite times at Loftus Road in recent years. Just what a goal. A nice big chunk to passing as well, a +5, a +4 to dribbling, a +4 to defense, and a +5 to physicality. I was thinking of doing a +4 as well, it being 73 defense and 75 physicality, averaging at that 74 rating. But my thought process was, with him having being quite slow for a fullback, the +1 to physicality kind of like averages that out in overall stats for a right back. So that's kind of why I just gave him that little cheeky +4 instead of a +3 in the defensive side of things, and the physicality side of things. But overall, I think Jimmy definitely deserves an upgrade. And although it's not a crazy desirable looking right back card, Evos which is one of my favorite additions to FC and FIFA's. Just such a big fan of them. This makes this card probably quite viable down the line. Next, we're going to look at Ryan Coley, a 60 rated rare striker in FC25. I have decided that not only should he get an upgrade, he should have a position change. He is a non-rare 65 left winger, is my predicted upgrade for him. I have given him a nice healthy chunk to his pace because I think he is quicker than 77. He's one of those players, he's quite quick off the mark. I find he's got like good acceleration, but then I think his sprint speed stat will be a bit lower. So I think he's going to have like 86 acceleration, and then like, you know, 79, 80 sprint speed is what I think his stats will sort of look like in the pace slot. I've given him a +3 to shooting, a +8 to passing. I think it's a justified big bonus. Being a wide player, I think the boost to passing is justified, and I do think he's got a good passing range as well, puts in some really nice crosses, and I think 61 is a fair boost. A little +4 to his dribbling as well, again very good on the ball. A +4 to defense. I think his work rate backwards maybe isn't phenomenal, but I think it's more than 25 would maybe suggest, and I think he's got very little defensive capabilities because it's not his game. But for a left winger, I think a little +4 to defense and some of the stats that go inside that stat block I think makes sense, and a +5 to physicality. And I do think that will it's not necessarily that it'll be largely down to stamina. He's got very low stamina, but he completed his first, like as an example, completed his first full 90-minute game for us this season. He's just often either taken off or brought on. He's very rarely starts and then finishes a game. But I like Ryan. I think he's got a very high ceiling, and I think, again, justifies a +5. Now, on to one of the new signings, and it is none other than Richard Kone, a player that I had actually put on Twitter a while ago that I was really hoping QPR would sign, and I'm really glad to say that it's happened. What a player, what a story as well, and yeah, just such a big fan of Kone. He was 60 rated in FC25, and I've given him a massive +8 as one of the best performers, one of the best players. In fact, I think he got the player of the season in League One. I think he got it over Kelman. I know Kelman scored more goals, and I think Kelman scored less penalties as well, but I'm fairly sure Kone got the player of the season of League One. I think I might be wrong, sorry if that's not true, but a +8, and I think perfectly justified. I think I would like to make him a higher rated card, but I think a +8 is the right amount to boost him by. I'd love to say deserves like a 70 because of how well he did in the championship, but sort of like the same vibe with Kelman. I think there's only a certain amount I can boost it by, and a +8 I think is justifiable here. So I've given a +4 to pace, a +10 to shooting, which again I think is one of those examples, like I said, where I haven't followed the FC upgrade trend, because I think there's a reason to give an extra stat boost. So a +10 to the shooting, a +9 to passing. Seen Wickham play a couple of times, and I think the passing deserves a nice non-normal FC boost. A +6 to dribbling to sort of counteract some of those bigger boosts, to keep it at the correct +8 vibe. A +5 to defending, and a +7 to physicality. A lot of that being down to stamina and a little bit of physicality, because he's not the biggest guy, but he's not a pushover. He's not a weak guy. But yeah, he's one of the players I'm most excited about signing. Probably, in my opinion, out of the players we signed, the player I'm most excited about that's joined this season. And yeah, Kone is going to be a big prevalent figure on the channel, I'll say that. Another new signing, and that is Mbenge, and apologies, he has got his original FC25 face scan, or not face scan, but like picture on both of these here. He was 67 in his base card that has just got the QPR card released in game, and I've given him a +2. I think he had a good season at Reading, and I think it's a justifiable boost as well. Has also started life pretty well at QPR, in my opinion. Man of the match in the first game. Not entirely sure why he was dropped the other two. We don't talk about that. I'm not the manager. But I think a very justifiable +2. Again, one that maybe if I'd done a bit more research or seen a few more Reading games, or, you know, looked into a couple of things. I looked at his overall like match ratings and stats and all of this stuff. And I think a +2 is viable. Maybe a +3. but I've gone with a +2. A +1 to his pace, a +2 to his shooting, a +4 to his passing, a +2 to his dribbling, a +3 to the defending, and a +1 to the physicality. I only gave the +1 to the physicality so I could justify a +3 to the defending. And again, 69 defense and 73 physicality. That combination's quite high for a 69 rated centre back, but because of some particularly low other stats, you know, the other 3 stats combined barely hitting 140 if you ignore the pace, I think makes sense. I do a lot of maths when I'm doing these predictions and upgrades and stuff, and I think a +2, the stats and the way I've distributed it makes sense. And yeah, I like Mbengue. I think he's somebody that, the way he's already started at QPR, I think he's going to be a fan favourite. I don't think it'll take very long for him to cement that kind of role. Now we're looking at a card that actually didn't exist in FC25 Ultimate Team, but the player was in the game, and that is Karyuu Morgan. He was on career mode as a 62 rated centre mid. I don't know if he was rare or non-rare, so I just made him non-rare. And I've given him a +3 to become a non-rare 65 rated silver. Morgan is another player that I think there is such a high ceiling for, and I think there's such good potential for Karyuu Morgan. I really struggled to not overboost. I really wanted to give him like a 67, 68. I really wanted to, because I think he's that good. But it's his first, you know, season as a professional non-development team player, and I think he did really, really well. I think he was phenomenal in the Development Premier League, or the Premier League Cup, I forgot what it's called, especially in the final. He was insane. He just looked, for me, he was just head and shoulders above every other player on the pitch. He just looked so composed, like it was a stroll in the park from playing at that sort of level. But I think he is such a good player. So the stats you can see on the bronze card are what his base stats were on career mode. So I've taken it based off of those and then done the boost to give him the +3. I hope that makes sense. So I've given him a +2 to pace, a +3 to shooting, a +4 to passing, a +2 to dribbling, a +3 to defending, and a +2 to physicality. The only thing that might be a small hiccup in this, and it depends on how late in the day the EA actually do some of these boosts. Not only has he very recently scored an absolute wonder goal, what a strike, we lost, but it was a great goal. He's also started being used as a right back a little bit, where it's evident he's not his first choice position, but he looked relatively good there against Preston. I think he had a decent game. I think you could tell right back wasn't like his first choice position, but I don't think he was bad there to sort of think like, oh, he's not looked great. I think Morgan is a fantastic player and somebody that I personally just hope desperately that we keep developing, we keep hold of for a good period of time, and can help, you know, we progress like his career as he helps us as a club progress as well, because I think he's that good. I really do think Morgan's phenomenal, and I think a +3. Next we have Morrison. He had a 64 rated rare centre-back card in 25, and I've given him a +2 to a 66. We didn't see loads of him throughout the entire season, but in the latter stages of the season came in and is actually, I think, a really influential and important part of that back line towards some of the better parts of our season. That run that we had of some unbeaten games, he was a big part of that in my opinion. So I think justifies a +2. I've given him +2 pace, +1 shooting, +2 passing, +2 dribbling, +2 defense, and +2 physical. So kind of pretty much across the board, +2s on everything apart from the shooting, where I gave him a +1. I think this is one of those ones that's like, I think he justified a bit of a boost, and I've kind of done the EA boost across the board sort of thing. So that's how that card came about. A bit of short and sweet on that one, but I like Morrison, and for me is probably, if all of our centre-backs are fit, either second or third choice for me. On to another new signing, and we are looking at Poku. I think this guy is unreal. So happy that we signed him. And you can see his 69 rated base card in 25. Obviously, it was at Peterborough, now at QPR. He had both cards in the game. I've given him a +2. I feel like I could, again, this is one of those ones I feel like I could have given a big boost. To give Kone a +8 and then Poku only a +2 feels strange, but I'm looking at the base ratings. I think to say that Poku deserved as much of an increase as Kone is probably relatively accurate, but that would have made, you know, Poku would have been a 76, a 77 rated card, which I don't think is accurate. So I've made him a 71, +2. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I've given him a +2 to pace. I've given him a +5 to shooting. Scored plenty of goals last season. I've given him a +6 to passing. Got plenty of assists last season. +2 to dribbling. +2 to defense, and a +3 to physicality. I think could be a huge part of our season this season. Really hope that he can get back when he is fit from that injury and come through and really just be one of the main players for us this season. That front four, possible front four, is such a good front four. I love it. I'm excited to see it. And yeah, I think this feels pretty good. I think this feels like a pretty accurate and fair way to boost it. I've given a lot of extra stats, sort of the +2 across the board, and then shooting and passing have had lots of boosts, but I think it still falls within the remit of being about a 71, maybe 72 rated right mid, but 71 +2, that's my thought. I was talking about that possible front four at the time of recording. Literally today, we have confirmed the signing of Koki Sato, and I am so happy. What a guy. I have his base stats based off of Kurima, just like Morgan, because his card for some reason wasn't in Ultimate Team, even though he had the face scan, he had the cards, he had the stats. Didn't exist in Ultimate Team. Cheers, EA. But I have got his card predicted for next season. I've kept him at a 72. I've tweaked the stats a little bit, but I've kept him at a 72. Part of me wanted to make him a 73, but I feel like 72 was about right. It just felt like that was an accurate rating. So I've given him a +1 to pace, kept the shooting the same, +1 to passing, -1 to dribbling, +2 to defense, -1 physical. I feel like that's accurate. Personally, I maybe could have gone a little +1 to the shooting and given him 67 shooting as well, but I think that that's across the board fair. I think if his card is identical to his 25 card, also fair. I think that's also probably not bad. I just think little tweaks but the same rating. But I am so happy that Sato's back. And our final card, a player that I think a lot of the championship are gonna find even more about this season. I really do think it's incredible that we not only have him, but have him secured to be here at the club, and that is Jonathan Varane. What a player. Absolutely phenomenal. Just our best defensive midfielder. I love him. 68 was his base rating in 25. I've given him a +4 to make him 72. I wanted to make him 73 or 74. I really did, but a +4 felt right. I have to think about what EA are going to do, because I'd make Varane a 90. He really is very good. Maybe not a 90, but he's a baller. I've given him a +5 to shooting, a +5 to pace, a +4 to shooting, a +7 to his passing, +4 to dribbling, +5 to defense, and a +2 to physicality. Across the board, I think boosted in every stat. Absolutely makes sense. The only goal that I can think of him scoring was his goal against Leicester, which was in the fog and was a lovely strike. And I think his first professional goal, I want to say, question mark. But I do think Varane is so good. Just like Morgan, if we can keep hold of him, some of that core of the squad that we've now pieced together, keep some of these guys to push us through, or their market value goes up so much that we cash in on some good money. But he's a player that I'd love to build around. He just is that good to have in, pulling the strings, orchestrating in the middle of the park, build around him, and then go from there. So that's my my final player in today's video. But let me know your guys' thoughts on the players that I have done the rating predictions for today. I've tried my best to go at this with as neutral head and as EA-minded head as possible. And hopefully you guys agree. As I said at the start of the video, let me know if there's any other sort of rating prediction style videos you'd like to see. Transferred cards, specific leagues, maybe even specific teams. Let me know your thoughts. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, again, comment down below. Interactions greatly appreciated. Leave a like on the video. Massively supports me, the video, and the channel. And if you're new, hit the sub button. That's it for me, guys, though. Thank you for watching. I've been Tom. You guys have been awesome. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care. And, of course, wash your hands. In a bit, guys.